All right, let's bring in our guest. He's been on the call for CBS Sports for over 3 decades at the Final Four, the Masters, the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure he even narrated an episode of Young Sheldon. We've spent so much time listening to him over the years that I really do consider him one of my very best friends in the whole wide world. The great Jim Nantz is here.
Well, that is so nice of you to say. I've been speaking to you for a long time on the air. When I say hello, friends, that has been directed right at you. So it's great to be on this show. You knew it. I was channeling you the whole time.
I had a feeling no one believed me, but great. Now we have proof of it. So much I want to get to with you, but let's talk about this season. Let's start off, and particularly that game last Sunday in Buffalo. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. I'm sure you would agree with there. And you made a great call on the Josh Allen 4th down touchdown run. It was 4th and 2. They could have kicked a field goal. We all know Patrick Mahomes was probably going to come back and score and win the game, but they went for it. And you labeled this the play of the year in the NFL. And I think you're right. I think you've taken some backlash to it, but my God, of course it was a play of the year.
Well, every Commanders fan probably had something to say about that. And then, of course, every Kansas City fan had something to say about it. So you got to toss all that nonsense aside. I mean, I've been hearing nothing but great remarks about it. But in the moment, here's the thing. You set it up well, and there just wasn't enough time to really think about how big that call and that play and that moment was. You got a team that has potentially an undefeated season. Their schedule looked very favorable after this game, and could very easily say be 14-0. Now it's really out there in all of our space about the Chiefs trying to do something we haven't seen since '72 with the Dolphins, and they're going for the three-peat. And you've got the Bills, who this is always their nemesis. And if you kick it and you're up 5, Patrick's going to go right down the field and win it with a touchdown. If you fail to pick it up and you go for it, you roll the dice and you lose, you're just going to never hear the end of it. But I just thought the play was gigantic. And the interesting thing was I qualified it too shortly after. I said it right on the spot. I mean, he looked like a pinball running toward the end zone, just bouncing off people. He's just impossible to bring down. I did the other game that's the possible play of the year. I called Jaden Daniels' Hail Mary. So if I had said that, someone else had called that game, it might have been a little bit tawdry. Oh, you want your play to be the play of the year. Wait a minute. I was there for both of them. So I have the context, and clearly this was the most significant play of the two. The other one was more exciting, more thrilling. Honored to have been there for it and call it. But this truly was a game that changed the way we look at the rest of the regular season. Thinking about the game just today, the number of things that dropped into that broadcast from efforting it that were stories that we got to tell together. Kareem Hunt telling us that the day after Pacheco went down with injury early in the season, he texted Mahomes, he texted Andy Reid and let them know, I want to come back. His heart belonged in Kansas City, where his career started, where he led the league in rushing as a rookie. I'm ready to go. I can help you guys. And they both texted him back, and he was in the building within a day. He's been a big part of their success this season. Leo Chanel, who was in our meeting, made a big block on the field goal attempt against Denver the week before. Just little nuggets to personalize them and that Tony and I can tell together. Those are the winning little moments. Guy at home probably doesn't feel it. They don't understand it. But yeah, you're building up all week long for a 3-hour broadcast, and the storytelling in the end. The game speaks for itself and how we can cover it to make it a little more interesting. And Tony is the best. I mean, Tony can break down a game like no one. So it's been a wonderful year.
It's as you're explaining this to me, I'm thinking about it like you are creating a script. You're creating like a 3-hour script, and like maybe there's no answer to this, but at what point do you feel comfortable, like that Kareem Hunt nugget, right? Would you do when you go into a game? You're like, I have to have 10 of those, or I have to have 7 of those, or like, are you nervous that you're shorthanded if you only have like 2 of those? Where do you stand on that?
No, there's always a million directions you could go. There's never a list of, I've got to get this one. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that we really want to go down that path and do it in concert with the truck and some great specialty graphics perhaps they built. But the Kareem thing, he didn't have monster stats in that game at Buffalo, and a lot of them were just 3-yard runs up the middle. I love the way he runs, by the way. I mean, the guy reminds me so much, and I'll use that. Marshawn Lynch, who had started his career in Buffalo as a first-round pick moons ago. How his running style was like Marion Barber of the Cowboys of yesteryear. All of this came out of a meeting and efforting it. And Tony and I were there asking these questions that come to life. I love the way you said that, by the way. It is. It's almost like a little script behind the scenes, and the rest of it is watch and observe and tell people what you see on the fly.
Of course. And then it's a domino effect too, right? If that game goes differently, Kansas City, Pittsburgh on Christmas doesn't mean as much, right? So you could look at the whole rest of the month. So, but I did want to ask you, you had the whole CBS studio crew there, JJ Watt, Matt Ryan, Nate Burleson. Even Coach Cowher jumped through a folding table there in Buffalo. Is there any way they would have convinced you to do that?
I would have done it. I truly would have done it.
Really?
Someone would have asked.
Oh.
I mean, yeah. I don't know what exactly they had at the base of that for a soft landing. There had to be something there because I'm watching Coach Cowher just plow through that and land right on his tailbone, and he was fine. Maybe there'll be a chance at another time, but yeah, something like that would have been kind of fun.
I'm going to write that down. I mean, if all they have to do is ask, that's great.
They did.
So
that's all
you talked about the AFC East, and everybody's trying to knock Buffalo off their pedestal, whether it's in August or even October. Now the Jets were predicted to be that team. I think they were projected to have 10 wins this year. Could you ever have imagined that it was going to be such a disaster of a year for them? And you could say yes if you want.
There actually is a little side of me that thought it could be. Because I hate hype. I'm not the guy that likes to live in the world of hyperbole. And it just seems like to me, anytime there's something new and exciting happening with any one of the New York teams, listen, I was raised in New Jersey, so I understand about New York bias. I get it. I lived all over the country, but my real formative years were in Colts Neck, New Jersey. So I get it. But hey, if the media really wants to, I'm talking the sports media, again, we're over here in the candy store end of the world. If they really want to be truthful about it, they do think that everybody cares about their teams more than any other part of the country. They really think everybody's in on the Jets. I hate to tell them, it's a big world out there. No one cares. Okay. That's the truth. I live in Nashville and I live part-time in Pebble Beach, California. Nobody's talking about the Jets. 365. So quit shoving this stuff down my throat that they're going to win the division. Let's go see it on the field first. I didn't know it'd be this far off the cliff, but it has been. It's been just a nightmare for the Jet faithful.
I want to dispel this myth. I think a lot of people think you and Tony just show up on Sunday and that's it. You guys put a ton of work into this, right? You're flying all over the place. You have meetings. One of the things that intrigues me is I believe every Friday you sit with the coaches that are the coaches for the teams that are playing on Sunday, the game you're calling, right? Which coach that you've met with and interviewed is the most entertaining, would you say?
Well, there's a lot. First off, there's a number of coaches that are entertaining. Mike Tomlin, I wouldn't say he's entertaining, but he's enlightening. He has such a great form of expression. The way he describes the way he's going to game plan for Sunday, the guy will be, if he ever wants to go down that road as an analyst, he would be the natural. He would be great. And there are a lot of them that really are entertaining. I've got Dan Campbell coming up next week. We've got the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm looking forward to that. We don't get to see the Lions all that often. All of a sudden, lo and behold, we got them on Thanksgiving Day. And we have them against Buffalo in December. Now, it's going to be a monster game, December 15th.
Now, some games you don't have to be there for. And I always wondered this. Players have teams, on their no trade clause list. Do you have a team on your no call list? Like, if they tell you you're heading to Cleveland to do Jaguars Browns, are you like, no, I'm out. I'm skipping this one?
I've never done that. It's a great question. We have a week coming up on December the 8th. There's not a lot of options. You mentioned Cleveland. Our crew's going to do Cleveland at Pittsburgh. It's a rivalry game, even though it's been pretty one-sided for the most part in history. But you got the Pittsburgh side we'll build it up and find the storylines for that game. But I have it more the other way. I have places I want to go, not places I don't want to go. I actually like going to all of them. And I think that Tony now in his first 7 years has done a game in every building now. I think he has. There might be one exception, maybe a Seattle. No, I think we did a Seattle game out there for him. But yeah, there's places I want to go. And where I'd really like to go would be right in Nashville, Tennessee. So I could just get in my car. And first off, what I'd really like to do, and everybody that I work with knows I would do this because I have history with doing this, particularly for the golf part of my life, the golf crew, when we have an event at my favorite spot on earth at Pebble Beach, we're going to throw a party. And I haven't had a chance since I moved here in August of 21. I've never had a Titans home game. I have just the champagne is still on ice, waiting to bring all the above. Tony, Tracy, we haven't talked about how great Tracy is, which she is, and all of our production people, bring them to the house and blow it out. And then, on Sunday, be able to get in my car and drive to work and drive home. So come on, Titans, let's go. I believe in Brian Callahan. I know this is like way off the grid for you right now. But I'm hoping that as this city turns its page into a whole new phase with a dome stadium in a couple of years under construction now, there's going to be more attention drawn to this great part of the country.
Well, listen, they should at least, back to your original point, get as much coverage as the Jets this year. I'm with you on that. Why the hell not? What's the difference?
Well, they're basically the records are about the same.
There you go.
Close.
That's what I'm saying. Jim, you and Tony have been together a while now. It doesn't seem like it, but you're embarking on your 20th year together. No, it's the 8th year. But yeah. I truly know that you guys get along. Some of this is just a charade between the I just happen to know this, between the analyst, the play-by-play, and the color guy. But you guys get along. Is there anything? I know he likes practical jokes and likes doing stupid things on the road. Like he'll hold up a phone of a video of his wife waving, and he'll pretend that you're on FaceTime with her. But like that's one of his jokes. Has he pulled some practical jokes on you, or vice versa?
Tony is a big kid. I'll give you a funny one though. You're looking for some hijinks. So early in his career, there's a ton. First off, but I'm thinking of a young Tony. So it's a Thanksgiving Day game, and someone asked the question, "What's Thanksgiving mean to you?" And he said, "Well, this is going to be a very special one for me. I'm having a new friend come to town for this game." "Oh, really? Well, who is it?" I can't tell you. But I've got a friend coming to town. Well, obviously we knew it was some new girlfriend or something. So then he walks out of the production meeting, and I've got my notes on a table and everything. And he walks and he grabs one of my pens. He writes down on my board, which my board is sacred. Don't write on my board. I labor over that all week long, color coded, all this. He writes JS. Well, if it was 2024, I would have guessed Jordan Spieth. But at the time, I'm like, JS? Who in the hell is JS? Ended up being Jessica Simpson. But he just left. He wouldn't tell me. You remember they were a couple for a while. But it's just the only guy in the league that would kind of playfully have some fun and have that attitude. Like, can you believe I'm actually gonna have Jessica Simpson in my suite watching the game? He's just a wonderful guy, wonderful family guy, by the way.
I agree. By the way, first of all, when you first told me he wrote down JS, I thought maybe it was Jill Stein, the third party candidate.
Ran for president. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know, but I was like, wow, you're breaking news here. But yeah, you're right, and I have talked to him about that. Like, does he have an internal clock where, okay, I've now called too many plays in a row, or I've now attempted to call too many plays in a row, I'm going to lay back a little bit? He skirted the question, but I feel like he does. He's like smart enough to know what's too much and what's not enough.
His instincts.
Yes.
And what he sees all the way around. He had one in the game the other day in the Kansas City Buffalo game. And I made a point that the Bills' right tackle, who was a fill-in for the starter, Spencer Brown was out with an ankle. And so far, I'm watching the game as a novice in terms of football knowledge compared to my man. But he's lined up a lot of the times against Karlaftis, and on that side is Chris Jones. They hadn't touched Josh Allen to this point in the game. So they ran it that way, just an ordinary 4-yard plunge. And I said, hey, on that right side, let's not forget that we got a new right tackle in here today for the Bills, and so far he's done a pretty good job. He goes, you know what? 2 plays ago, he blocked the wrong guy. He is somehow able to process what 22 people on the field are doing in a play that lasts 3 seconds, and he sees it all.
But I will say, I mean, he has so many annoying quirks. Which stands out to you the most?
What would that be? Like in any marriage, there's little things,
sure,
but there's nothing gigantic here. No, I can't.
Oh,
I'm thinking away. Nothing in the broadcast booth. We have drivers. One's assigned to, Corey is assigned to Tony. I got my great friend Bryce, but Tony likes to go behind the wheel. Now, it's not a quirk, but he says, Corey, let me take this and I'll get us to the airport. And, man, I see him like riding off of shoulders and weaving in and out of traffic. And it's pretty compact and a lot of people in a finite amount of space with police escort. And you've just done a game. Now it's time to unwind, but he's on go. He's
it's like a video game, right? Like you're getting from A to B with him. Yeah.
He's him well, Sal.
His father is a much more reckless driver, if it helps, if that is
Romero.
Any consolation. Yes.
Romero. Yeah. No, Tony has great confidence in his golf ability. I don't know that would be a quirk, but he had some exemptions onto the PGA Tour, where he's been invited to play in the Byron Nelson, a tournament down in the islands, at Napa. And I applaud him for this. But early in his career, there was a weekend we were going to have a doubleheader game. And it was Minnesota at Chicago, like week 4. And he went to CBS to ask that if he made the cut, could he take off week 4? Because he's got this great chance to play in a tour event. And Sean McManus green-lighted it. So the week before, we're in Philadelphia. And Tony's talking about how ready he is to play in this tournament. CBS has now as the backup plan, Boomer's going to come out of the studio if needed. And on Saturday morning, he's flying to Chicago. And Tony says, I got a problem. I said, what is it? He said, I'm playing the tournament next week. I said, you got the yips? What's going on? He said, no. Nothing like that. It's the opposite. He said, I'm playing so well right now that I actually think I'm going to finish in the top 10, which is, Jim, that will put me into the following week's tournament. Top 10 get exempt for the next tournament.
Right.
Now, what do I do? Where are we week 5? I mean, I'm going to have to ride that. And what do I do with Sean? I said, Tony, let's just go make the cut first. Let's not worry about the top 10. He said, even one other thing. Call me crazy, Jimmy, but if I win next week, I get the 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour.
Great.
So that's confident. That is Tony Sal. I know how close you guys are. So I said, just go make the cut. He missed the cut and he did the game. He was there at Soldier Field. Yeah.
Well, I have one more question to ask you, but an addendum to what you said. He was with that confidence in golf. He convinced me and my cousin Jimmy to bet him in this Punta Nesca tournament in Mexico, right? Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to win this thing. And I'm like 250 to 1 odds. And so, of course, we're all over it. And not only doesn't he win, but he comes in very last place. And we came and we made a nice trophy for him. It says last place, whatever it was, 2007 or whatever it was. So I don't know that.
Tournament.
Yeah.
His tournament. He finished like 17 over and missed the cut by about 25 shots.
That was it.
But same thing. He thought he was going to win.
All right, Jim, we've got one more question for you. We call this Cousins Conundrum.
Cousins Conundrum.
All right?
Yeah.
This has never been asked of you before. I'm almost positive of it. All right, you get a master's exemption for the rest of your life. Okay, you go from calling Augusta to playing in it, and you can even pick the other 2 players in your opening round groups. Rest of your life. But in return, one Sunday every month, you wake up with laryngitis. Do you take the deal?
No.
Really?
First off, I would play with Freddie Couples, who I played a lot of golf, particularly early in the year when we were rooming together down at Houston in the same dorm suite with my buddies Blaine and John and our whole group. And of course, he went on to a Hall of Fame career. But I have the dream job at Augusta. Playing in it, in my weird way of thinking, would not be as fulfilling as being a voice for that tournament and blending my voice with that beautiful, soft Augusta melody. It's a dream for me. This is exactly what I wanted to do since I was 11 years old. That job, that was it. That drove me. It was an obsession for me. I've told the story many times. It's not good copy. It's real. It was burning in my heart. I have all that I could ever want at Augusta by sitting above that 18th and down at Butler Cabin and welcoming a worldwide audience to a tradition unlike any other, the Masters on CBS.
Did it.
All that's missing here is the melody. That's a shame. A shame I didn't have it all queued up for you. But
we will add it in post-production. Don't worry about that. All right. That's a good answer. I would have liked to have seen you call like Bills Chiefs with laryngitis, but it's fine.
I've done that. I've done games before with laryngitis, but it wasn't in football. Thank heavens. And now that you've hexed me, I don't know which game I'm going to have to miss in December or in the coming weeks.
No.
It happened at a college basketball game for me several years ago. I was working with Billy Packer for years.
Yeah.
We were doing it in UCLA, ranked number 1 against Stanford, top 5 at Maples Pavilion. And I had no voice, and Billy had to call the entire game.
The good news is a lot of the great college basketball announcers sound like they have laryngitis to begin with. So you fit right in there.
Yeah, that strain in the voice. Yes, whatever exactly. It might be. Yes.
Jim, I can't thank you enough for being here. Have a great rest of the season. Please tell Tony I said hello and that he's not that as good at golf as he says. Just let him know.
I think we've brought that to light for the world here today with each of us having the same story to tell from different tournaments. You're great, man. I got to sit with you years ago.
Yes.
Out in LA at Craig's.
Right.
That was magic. And I appreciate you having me on. I really do.